Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, happy game day, and welcome back into football season. I'm Eric Cain here with Grant Ramey, GameQuest, Volquest.com, presented by our friends. Title sponsor this year, Spivey, Cain and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers, free consultation, 423-245-4185. Spivey, Cain and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers. Welcome back to football season, everybody. Number 24, Tennessee. Neutral site, Atlanta, Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Stadium against Syracuse in the 2025 season lid lifter. We'll have you covered every step of the way all day long today, during game, post game, all day Sunday, and every other day of the week over at Volquest.com. Great, Ramey. You cover basketball. I cover baseball. I love baseball. It's a passion of mine. I've enjoyed covering this program. I feel like I'm getting better every single year. I love it. I know you love covering Rick Barnes' team. Having said all that, there's still nothing like football season. It's just completely different. It's a standalone. In our industry, it's like a Super Bowl every single week, right? I mean, this is how we make our money, and it's fun, and it's a blast, and there's just nothing like it, man. I'm so glad that football season is finally here.
It's either football season or you're out in the wilderness, and we've been in the wilderness for the last 40 years since I guess December, since the playoffs. So the land of milk and honey is back. It's time to go back. It's week 0 is cool. I enjoy week 0. I appreciate week 0.
Do you enjoy week 0?
I enjoyed it for a minute, and then it just kind of becomes a tease, and you want more. I'm watching Stanford, Hawaii for some reason. I'm watching Kansas and whoever they played, Fresno. I'm searching high and low to see if I can find Idaho State at UNLV, because Idaho State jumps out to a 10-0 lead or whatever it was, led for most of that game before UNLV woke up. So I appreciate week 0, the tease it was, but the slate we have today, this entire weekend, Labor Day weekend, it's one of the best weekends of the year. You count down to it all summer, all spring, all summer, all that stuff. So it's finally here.
You know what I'm excited about? I'm excited about Friday nights because you have the Red Zone College channel on XM Radio. I'm pumped about Friday night. We're going to listen to this stuff. We got some good football coming back on Saturday as well. When we get home, for those who are interested, maybe hate watching, whatever, Fox at 11 o'clock Eastern time, UCLA plays. So, I mean, there's a lot of good games coming up on this weekend, and I'm looking forward to listening to a lot of those outside of watching Tennessee.
You want me to give you a first world problem?
What is it?
Us working absolute dream jobs, wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Too stupid to do anything else to begin with. We're working during the Texas-Ohio State games, same time slot as Tennessee and Syracuse. We'll be working post-game during, what's the second one? Alabama at Florida State in this triple header on ABC. And then we'll be driving back during the Clemson and LSU game. So that's unfortunate timing, first world problems. I understand, fully aware. We'll have games on in the press box, all that stuff. But at the same time, man, what I wouldn't give to just be able to sit on the couch all day, like 15 straight hours of doing nothing but just flipping between games.
And, you know, like last week, last year there were 2 bye weeks, and like I had to go to a stupid wedding for one. I know, right? The separate conversation. And I was moving the other one. Like going back a couple of years, I was in another wedding on a bye week. Like there's always something in my hard life, right? Like that's always happening on the bye weeks. And so finally I'm like, I don't have anything scheduled. I'm ready to roll. And now I have a kid. So like, you know, I'm going to be going to the zoo or just some silly, stupid crap like that when I want to be sitting around drinking beer and watching football for 15 hours straight. But nonetheless, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Football season is back, and I think I know this Tennessee podcast. I can't wait to listen and check in on the LSU Clemson game because, I mean, LSU, they schedule tough matchups to begin every single season, right? But they've lost like 4 straight or something. I mean, and Clemson, a lot of people are high on Clemson. I think 2 of the better quarterbacks in the entire country. I'm pretty bullish on LSU this year just in terms of returning production. I think that one's going to be a really, really good one. But back to the Tennessee podcast. Your synopsis of the offseason. We're going to get into Syracuse, some of the keys of the game, all that and more. We're going to hear from Tim Banks, what he had to say about preparing for a unit that is completely new and some of the challenges that come with that. But synopsis of the offseason, Grant. I mean, obviously the headliner is you lost your quarterback at the end of spring. How would you describe this Tennessee offseason for Volunteer fans?
Never boring. Why can't it just be boring? Why can't it just be quiet? Why can't we just go about our business, have nothing go wrong, any of that stuff? I mean, I don't know. The Nico situation in April was what it was. It's a long gone by at this point, but it's also still it's not going away in terms of people are going to keep talking about it because of how that situation played out. Nico goes to UCLA. UCLA, the quarterback they just got out of Appalachian State a few months earlier in December, ends up transferring to Tennessee and Joey Aguilar and winning the job. So that becomes almost like a trade situation in college football, as unthinkable as that might have been just a few years ago. So that's a huge deal. Obviously, the Boo Carter stuff's a huge deal, watching that play out in July and obviously through August and training camp, trying to figure out what his status was, when he's going to be back, if he's going to be back, all that stuff that we were trying to figure out. So it's just there's never a dull moment. It's never boring. It's never and then that's not to mention, you're starting over at wide receiver. You're starting over at 4 spots on the offensive line. You've got questions to answer. Jermon McCoy tears his ACL in January doing some offseason training away from Knoxville. So it's just never boring moments. Never. It feels like Tennessee's always making some kind of headlines for better, for worse. And it's good for our job security. It's not great for our sanity. It's not great for all the gray hairs that are popping up in my head.
I mean, like, college football is truly becoming like the NFL calendar, like the NFL model. Like, there's always something going on with the transfer portal windows in spring, and then recruiting, and then again another window. And it's fun. Like I said, it's good for business, but you got to go into every window pretty much having a shell written for 15 guys, and then half of them don't, more than half of them don't run, and then you think a player's safe one day and a player's not safe, and they're in the portal. It's just constantly changing. It's free agency every single year. This is more of a broader college football conversation right now, but it's a lot. And you're right. Why can't it ever be boring for Tennessee? Because again, like you brought up Jermon McCoy, and like that's just been like in the back of my mind this entire time. Like, oh yeah, Jermon McCoy, All-American, one of the best defenders in the country, first round pick. All that more like. He got hurt training in the offseason to kick off the offseason. Yeah. And we forget about that because the whole Nico thing kind of dwarfs in comparison. So it's wild when you think about how all that played out.
He's your biggest star on a really, really good defense in 2024. Breakout star, this kid you found out of Oregon State. And it's a huge steal and all this stuff. And he's one of the best corners in the country, if not the best corner in the country. He's going to be maybe the top corner in the in 2026 NFL draft. And, he tears his ACL in January. And you don't even think about that. It's not even on the back burner. It's on the third back burner because of the Boo Carter situation, because of the Nico stuff, all the fallout there. It's never boring. It's always fun.
You brought up Boo Carter. That's the latest drama, right? That was leading us right in. When you think everything's settled up, ready to roll, you'll turn over a new leaf, get this season started, fall camp, and then the weekend going into fall camp, it's like, is Boo Carter going to be on the football team? Nobody knew, right? And then, it's been pretty well documented what Josh Heupel said about him. He's got to check some boxes. He's got to do some things to earn his spot back, essentially on the team. He didn't say that, but he was not out there for really the first week of, fall camp, and then he started doing a little bit more and didn't play much in the first scrimmage, played a little bit with the threes in the second scrimmage. Where are you at on Boo Carter? What are your expectations for game one? I don't personally, again, it's a day-by-day thing. I don't think this is going to be something that goes past like 1 week into the season, but what are your expectations for Boo Carter game one?
On the field, game one, I don't expect a ton. Maybe here and there, just a little bit. I think it'll be a slow play, kind of like it's been a slow play since the day camp opened and Josh started addressing this stuff. I guess he held his press conference the day before camp opened. And then we kind of saw Boo Carter kind of slowly progress to doing stuff on the side, putting on a helmet, to dressing, to going back out on the practice field and doing individual stuff with his teammates, all that stuff. Big picture-wise, I think if he's contrite, if he's genuine, if he really means what he says, he had to address his teammates. He had to do some stuff, charity work and stuff, making hospital visits, all that stuff. If he's handled himself the right way and Josh Heupel's leaning on his leadership council, and if they sign off on this stuff, then I think it's a good move to get him back involved and have him on this football team and being playing his regular role on this football team. But I think as long as it's got to be signed off by his teammates, in my opinion. I think if he lost his teammates, you can't come back from that. But if they're signing off on it, I think it's a good situation moving forward, that you're able to resolve it. But I also don't think it's going to be Boo Carter playing all the snaps he's going to play in a regular situation week one against Syracuse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Josh Heupel got up there the day after Nico was a no-show in spring, the orange and white game, and gets up there and says, hey, nobody's bigger than the power T, and that includes me. And so you say that and you put that on record, and that's great, right? That's awesome. I was kind of intrigued to see how he was going to be handling this situation. I think he's handled it well. Like, he made one public address, right? We've asked him about it a couple of times, and he's given absolutely no answers. Barely enough to turn out a copy and paste article there, Grant. but I think he's handled it the right way. He had his initial he said his piece at media day. We've seen the progression. We've kind of seen him be held out. There's been things that he's not been able to be a part of. We'll see what's in store for today's game. But like not going out there and saying, okay, well, he's suspended for a game, or he's not. He'll be available for the game. He did say he'll be available, but not giving parameters on what he will and won't do gives him a leash to where it's like, okay, in my mind, I'm just thinking like, what if Tennessee wants to do this? Like, yeah, we'd rather not play him today, but Tennessee gets burnt in the slot or something. Hey, Boo, get in there. Like, we didn't go out to the media and say Boo Carter will never play defense today. Like, you just kind of kept it open-ended. So I think they kind of handled it the right way, but you're right. The leadership council's got to sign off on that. And if he's out there playing defense in a game, then that means the leadership council has certainly signed off on that. So something to pay attention to for sure. Boo Carter is obviously one of the best football players on the team. And, man, I hope for his sake and for Tennessee's sake they can coexist and he can continue to do the things he needs to do. And it sounds like, I wouldn't say he's been perfect in camp, but it sounds like he's done a really good job. So that's good to hear. Challenges, Grant Ramey. Syracuse. I mean, again, we've talked about it all week long, but Syracuse, one of the most potent offenses in the country last year, 35 points per game. Kyle McCord, 7th year in college or whatever, or 6th year in college, whatever it was, broke ACC records held by Deshaun Watson. Had a 1,000-yard rusher, had a 1,200-yard receiver that left in spring, had a couple other receivers that left, had an NFL tight end that's no longer there. 4 transfers on the offensive line are expected to start on Saturday. A lot of newness, like Tennessee, a lot of newness, okay, for Syracuse. So if you're Tennessee's defense and Tim Banks, how do you prepare? That's kind of a challenge.
This is kind of college football in a nutshell. You've got a couple 10-win football teams from last season that are playing week 1, and you don't really know what to expect on either side of the ball because of so many different guys that have been replaced on the offensive line or at wide receiver, at running back, or at quarterback. And obviously Kyle McCord didn't transfer. He ran out of eligibility after 17 years, however long it was. But you lost Nico from last year. You got Joey in here. I mean, that's the unknowns on both sides kind of encapsulate college football to me right now, because 2 really good football teams last year. Hand up, I had no idea Syracuse led the country in passing offense until about 4 or 5 days ago when I looked it up. I realized they were a 10-win team first year under Fran Brown. That was really a big year 1, a big debut. I don't know what Syracuse is going to be this year, but I think the unknowns is the biggest problem for Tennessee. You're watching Notre Dame tape of Steve Angeli, and he didn't play very much for Notre Dame. You're trying to get a beat on him. I mean, and that's another thing. LSU transfer Ricky Collins was named the starter coming out of spring, and then Notre Dame starter Steve Angeli was named the starter coming out of the fall. Like, that's how much movement there is in college football. That's how much newness there is. That's how much unknown there's always going to be going into week 1 in the transfer portal era.
It's interesting. That is for sure. Tim Banks was asked about it several times. We asked Jackson Moy about it earlier this week. Like, again, 4 starters on the offensive line, new quarterback, and as you pointed out, didn't play an awful lot at Notre Dame. Like, how do you go about doing those things? And Tim Banks pretty much just said, hey, you got to focus on yourself. Nothing changes. You focus on yourself and do the things that you need to do, then the outcomes will be kind of where we want them to be.
Yeah, it's as helpful as it can be, in terms of watching, some Notre Dame tape. Offense is a little bit different, in terms of what Syracuse does versus Notre Dame. But, yeah, you can see the mannerisms, obviously, some of the throws that he's made, some of the poise that he's played with. So that's the only reference we have, and we're just kind of projecting, what we think it'll look like, obviously, with Syracuse. So Syracuse did a tremendous job last year, as everybody knows. I mean, they threw the ball extremely well. Systematically, they did a lot of good things, to give their quarterback some easy reads, and, those guys were super productive. So I think this kid will fall in line, very similar to what it looked like last year. And, obviously we got to be ready to go to try to. Yeah, they do a really good job of pushing the ball, downfield, with the RPO concepts. It's been really productive for them last year. I thought the wideouts, were vertical. Those guys could get by you in a second, and then you combine it with a really strong run game. So you really didn't see a weakness, in terms of how they went about their business offensively. Really good scheme, really had good players to execute it. That's obviously a recipe for success. So we don't know how much the scheme will change. I think those guys had great success and great confidence in it, and then it'll be up to those new guys, obviously, to execute at the level they executed last year. But, we see a good offense every day in practice ourselves, and, we know we'll have our work cut out against those guys. But I know our guys are up for the challenge and can't wait to, tee this thing up.
And Grant, this is kind of where I've been all week long, right? Like, there's a lot of questions about Tennessee. What's Joey Aguilar going to look like? What's this, true freshman right tackle David Sanders going to look like? I knew that what the starting line is going to be, right? But it just kind of dawned on me sitting in there in the media room earlier this week. I'm like, holy crap, you're going to have redshirt freshman, hardly any playing time Jesse Perry at guard, and then you're going to have true freshman, no playing time David Sanders at right tackle. Like, you got tons of experience on the left side, no experience on the right side. Like, it's just kind of, again, I knew that was going to be the case, but it just kind of dawned on me like, holy crap, that's very unique. So Tennessee's got questions. Syracuse has got so many questions. But the difference in this football game, Grant, is Tennessee's defense is going to be good. We expect Tennessee's defense to be good this year. Tennessee returns a lot. They play a lot of players. Even with McCoy out, Boo Carter limited or whatever, you still feel really good about the secondary. You feel great about the depth and the veteranship, if you will, at linebacker. And then, of course, I think Rodney Gardner's group is going to be relentless up there against 4 transfer starters on the offensive line. I know Tennessee's defense is going to play, up to par. Like, I don't know anything of certainty for Syracuse. I know what you can expect. I mean, they might not, have a great game, but you still know what to expect from a Tennessee defense. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference in this game, and why I think Tennessee, we'll do game picks later, but that's why I think Tennessee's just going to cruise to an easy cover in this football game.
When Josh Heupel got hired, I bet the thing you thought was, they're going to be good on defense.
Yeah.
Especially a few years down the road. I was sitting there watching that clip and listening to Tim Banks and thinking what a godsend he's got to be for Josh Heupel, because he's been continuity through all this. It's just been progressing and building on the defensive side. They didn't do much in 21, obviously. They didn't do much in 22. But what they started to show in 23, how they built on that last season. We were talking about the unknowns and the uncertainties and just the college football landscape these days, but it feels like what you're going to get from that defensive line because of the bodies there, the guys that have been there. Obviously, you're replacing James Pierce at rushing the passer. That's a big deal. He's a first-round draft pick and all that stuff. But you know what you should get at linebacker because of those guys coming back. You feel like you should know what you're going to get in the secondary because they got guys like Ricky Gibson and Andre Turrentine. They added Colton Hood, which is huge. With Jermod McCoy, I don't expect him to play in week 1. I guess that's the company line. I don't think you expect him to play either, do you?
No, I don't. I mean, I haven't heard anything. I would be absolutely floored if he played week 1. So,
right. Even without your best player, you still feel pretty good about that Tennessee defense and how they've progressed. And if they can they don't have to be the 2024 defense. They just got to be some version of it. And that's still going to be a very, very good defense that you can rely on, and that this offense, obviously they want to score 40 points a game like they did in 2022 or whatever that number was. But if you can just score a fraction of that and rely on a really good defense, that's a really good formula. But to have the answers that you have on the defensive side of the ball, I agree, that does feel like the difference in this game.
And even if you flip it over, again, I can't say anything with certainty about Syracuse. Everything's new on offense, everything. And we still don't even really know about Steve Angeli because he's been a career backup. You flip it over to Syracuse's defense, and boy, that Syracuse defense was awful last year. And I'm sure Frame Brown will get it better as time goes on, but it was awful last year. I mean, they had to outscore everybody, scored into the high 30s just to win 10 games last year. They were horrible against the run, allowing about a $155 against the run. They just weren't a very good unit, and I don't think many return from that group, which is probably a good thing, but still a whole lot of newness there. So, again, I know nothing of certainty about Syracuse. What I know about Tennessee on offense, I mean, they might not dominate, but Tennessee's going to run the football. You know why? Because, and I mean this is no disrespect, but I've been saying it in a very disrespectful way all week long, Jabari Small ran for 2,000 yards at Tennessee. I love Dylan Sampson. I think he was a heck of a ball player, right? But Jabari Small ran for 2,000 yards at Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to be able to run the football effectively, and it doesn't matter really who it is. So I expect Peyton Lewis, Deshaun Bishop, Star Thomas. I expect Tennessee to be able to run the football well today. And then what you do building off that, I mean, that's up to Joey Aguilar and those young receivers, which I know we're all super thrilled and super excited to see what you got there.
Yeah, and I think because it is you're starting over at quarterback, and because you are so young and inexperienced and thin at wide receiver, and you've got questions on the offensive line, I think you're going to lean on that run game even more. I mean, we've seen the numbers that Josh Heupel's put up consistently at Tennessee, and not only at Tennessee, but I guess across his career as a head coach, they've ran the ball really well wherever he's been. And obviously the passing game and all the explosive plays and stuff that he's been known for, and the tempo and speed and all that stuff, that gets the attention, but the run game's always there. And if the run game's there, it means that you're spacing the field, you're moving at the tempo and the speed that you want to move, and that's a big deal. So, yeah, I would expect you lean even more into that run game, with it being a new quarterback, with it being young wide receivers, all that stuff. Maybe lean on tight ends a little bit more because of that room. But at the same time, what you're talking about, the Syracuse defense, I think that's even more impressive to me, that Fran Brown found a way to win 10 games in year one, having a terrible defense. I mean, we saw Josh Heupel try to find ways to win games in 2021 with a really bad defense and scoring 45 points at Kentucky when they had the ball for 14 minutes or whatever the time of possession stat was. So it seems like that guy knows what he's doing, and he knows how to win football games, but Tennessee's going to have to have more answers and have the run game and have the defense and have all that stuff you can rely on.
Speaking of Fran Brown, and we'll get to our game picks here in just a second. I know you do the transcript for the opposing coaches every single year, and it's so refreshing. Josh Heupel, great guy, been nothing but nice to us and the media and everything, but he won't talk, he won't say anything, he'll mumble, he'll look like he's in a crappy mood every single time he gets in front of a microphone. His sit down with Austin Price the other day, I mean, I was right there, I was helping set up, I was there on hand. I'm just like, God, that's the best I think I've ever heard him in my life. Like, way better in that setting. Other coaches, Tony Vitello, for instance, Rick Barnes, I mean, whatever they think, they're just going to say. And right. They wear their emotions on the sleeve. And I thought Fran Brown this week was hilarious. I mean, he gives so much respect to Tennessee and to Josh Heupel and this coaching staff, this program, past and present. Talking about Jermon McCoy, he's like, shit, I play him, right? I don't know if they're going to play him. I play him. He's a good football player. And, he just goes on and on and on. How refreshing is it to hear another coach just do a press conference like that? I mean, I know Heupel's transcriptions are really easy because there's nothing there, but man, I'd like to hear a little bit of Fran Brown on a weekly basis.
He was very funny to start with. Also, just to begin, mumbling and in a bad mood. I think you're describing me when you say that. That's not the Josh Heupel description. I think that's me when I get behind a microphone or when I just wake up. But he would also kind of just take jabs at the reporters every few minutes. He was like, it doesn't matter what y'all say, you're going to be right no matter what you write about, all this stuff. Y'all are the experts, saying stuff like that, making sure he wasn't getting words, put in his mouth or twisted or whatever. Like, he was clarifying everything. He said, somebody asked him about Syracuse's facilities. He said, if I wasn't married, I would just chill in my office. If I didn't have a wife to go home to, like, I wouldn't be going home. Like, there's no need to. Got everything I need right here. Somebody asked him, like, you said, because he coached defensive backs at Georgia for 2 years before he got hired at Syracuse. And somebody said, well, you said you had a hard conversation with your son and you couldn't offer him at Georgia, but now he's on roster at Syracuse. So what was that conversation like when you were able to offer him? And he's like, we didn't offer him. I'm paying that bill. Like, I'm footing that, and we're giving another kid a scholarship. So I'm paying for that one. That's on me. What else did he say? He was, talking about Jermon McCoy saying he would play him. It feels like he knows the entire roster at Tennessee because he probably recruited a bunch of those guys at Georgia, Mike Matthews and the like. I didn't realize his family connection to Tennessee. I didn't realize his cousin was Rashad Baker.
I didn't either. A
4-year starter, a very, very underrated Tennessee football player, in my opinion, defensive back. I think he wore number 16 after Peyton wore number 16. So you got to have some courage to do that, and I think he played very well wearing that number. So that's an interesting connection. But, it was hilarious. It was a change of pace for sure to listen to him. And it was also just interesting hearing him kind of go and jab at the media at Syracuse, where they have one of the top journalism schools in the country, and it's very highbrow journalism, I'm sure. And for them to have to sit there and kind of jab back at him.
Yeah, it was cool. And he, one other note, and I know you wrote about it too. Like he said, when he was at Georgia, preparing for Tennessee and Josh Heupel, that was, what was the quote, Grant? That was the
one of the toughest weeks of the year, like one of the most difficult preps, I guess, in terms of how different the offense is and how everybody talks about how wide they spread the field sideline to sideline, how fast they want to move and all that stuff. But yeah, he's not unfamiliar, obviously, with Tennessee and specifically Josh Heupel's version of Tennessee. So that's another kind of interesting wrinkle in this whole thing.
But I thought the narrative this week was it was a Mick Mouse offense. I don't know. I mean, that's a separate conversation as well.
It feels like every year, this time of year, when players start getting cut or something happens in the NFL, it comes back to that same narrative. But yeah, whatever.
All right, when we come back, keys to the game, our game picks, so much more. GameQuest rolls on here. Week 1, Tennessee and Syracuse in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's presented by our great friends over at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. Want to give a shout out and give some thanks to our friends over at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. They've been a proud sponsor of the Volquest shows for quite some time now, jumping on the GameQuest show here for the 2025 season. And if you're unfamiliar of who Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP are, listen up, because potentially they could help you one day if you need. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. It's a three-man partnership. Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, Richard A. Spivey. Tennessee fans, good guys, just like you and I. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, and personal injury, example of which can be like DUI, assault, personal injuries such as car wrecks, accidents, divorce, custody, alimony, all that, parental rights, all that and more. Over 80 years of combined experience, Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts in Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience. Practice has been in place for 43 years, with this specific partnership forming in 2012, while also having partners who are energized for today's modern legal demands. Practicing primarily in Northeast Tennessee, the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, as well as Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas, the firm has won multiple awards, have attorneys who have been rated by super lawyers in the Mid-South with real trial experience. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or you've been accused of a crime, Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP, they can help you. See them in person at 142 Cherokee Street, Kingsport, Tennessee. Call today for a free consultation. That is 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185, or check them out online at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. So as always, big thank you to our title sponsor here at GameQuest. That's Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. And let's take a moment real quick to give a shout out to Whataburger, right? Whataburger, you can start your morning, game day morning this football season with breakfast. You deserve that Whataburger, all right? You have plenty of options to choose from. You can get a sweet, crispy honey butter chicken biscuit or a breakfast bowl with a savory sausage or bacon, maybe a big tasty breakfast burger with extra bacon and avocado. Whatever you want, just like you want it, Whataburger serves breakfast from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. So get that tailgate started this weekend with Whataburger. Okay, Grant Ramey, if Tennessee is going to be victorious in this football game, is Tennessee going to, finish with the score that you predicted on Friday at Volquest.com, one that we'll talk about right here in just a couple of moments? What does Tennessee need to do efficiently and effectively coming up later today?
You want me to be cliche? You want me to spout the traditional football fundamentals? I mean,
don't take them all, because I've got several. I got a list out there too. So
I'm about to take them all, because they need to play defense and they need to run the football and they need to take care of the football. Like, that's the three most boring, basic, fundamental aspects of the game, and I think that's what Tennessee needs to be: boring and fundamental, and take care of the football and all that stuff. Like, that's just, they need to keep it as simple as possible. Win this game in the most simple way as possible, and that's by playing good defense. That's by running the football. That's by not asking your quarterback to go out there and be Superman. It's not asking your receivers to be, All-Americans game one when you're starting over at that position. Lean on the stuff you know. You know the run game. You know the defense. Even though you're replacing a Dylan Sampson in the run game, you still know that this Josh Heupel offense wants to run it and run it well. So do that. Stand on that run game. Stand on that defense, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly win the run game, right? You got to win the battle on the ground. And I mean, I think Tennessee can dominate on the ground in this game. I'm not saying Tennessee has to dominate on the ground to win, but I think Tennessee obviously needs to win that battle convincingly, and I certainly think that Tennessee is going to do just that. Got to win the turnover battle, obviously. I mean, how can Tennessee lose this game? Turning the football over, not cashing in the red zone, giving something away on special teams, just stuff like that. Again, if you go out there and play clean, in my opinion, you should cruise to a cover. It's as simple as that. One of my keys to the game is put the football in Steve Angeli's hands. All right, make Syracuse one-dimensional. And again, it's week one. There's a lot of unknowns, but on paper, that should be, I don't want to call it cake, but that should be very attainable. I mean, you have two running backs, one of which was a transfer that was with Washington in 2023 and got hurt and barely played last year. The other had like 140 yards last year, and he weighs 235. Like, it's a different game. I understand that, but come on. Just go out there and shut down that run. And then if you do that, if you make Syracuse one-dimensional or pretty close to being one-dimensional, make Steve Angeli win this game. Can he win this game? He might. I don't know. He hadn't played enough ever in his career to truly know the answer to that. He's played in 11 games last year. He got a little action in the college football playoff, but he's been a backup quarterback. Steve Angeli for 3 to 4 quarters. Can he win you the football game throwing it against the secondary? Again, it might not have Boo Carter out there. We'll see what he does today. It's not going to have Jermon McCoy out there. I still like Tennessee's secondary in that matchup. I like Tennessee's front seven to put pressure on Steve Angeli, maybe force him into a bad decision. I just think that putting the game on the shoulders of a veteran, he's a veteran, but a veteran quarterback that's hardly played and was a transfer much like Joey Aguilar and was not here for spring practice is a tall task in week 1. So I think, doing some of those basic football one-on-one things and making Syracuse one-dimensional through the air, I think is an easy way that Tennessee can get in that win column.
You want another cliche? Start fast. I'm not going to sit here and trash Nico, but they had too many starts last year where it was just trying to figure out what was going on in the first half. I mean, they were shut out in the first half of 3 different games. You can't do that when you got a new quarterback in here, when you got wide receivers in here that you're trying to get up to speed and kind of starting over at that position like we've talked about. So start fast. Don't let Syracuse hang around. The longer they hang around, the more of a problem it becomes because of all the answers that you have to – all the questions that you have to answer yourself. So you need to start fast. You need a confidence building, first quarter, put points on the board, all that stuff, and go from there. So that's for as cliche as it gets in football. Start fast, take care of the football, play defense, run the football. Yeah, write those down.
I'm writing them down so I don't forget.
Who needs maxims when you got these cliches?
As tradition here on the GameQuest podcast, we are recording before we submit our final thing for our Friday score prediction. So we always reserve the right to change the score just a smidge. I'll go first here, and I'll give you time to think about it, Grant. Give me Tennessee to cover. BetMGM has got this line. It's Tennessee at 14. The over-under, that total is at 50.5. All right, the juice is with Tennessee. I like Tennessee again. If you do those things, there's a lot of unknowns. And long-term, I don't know what Tennessee's offense is going to look like this year. I have no clue. I'm excited to see what the first iteration of it looks like today. I'm excited to see Joey Aguilar out there running this offense. Excited to see some of these running backs and all that. But I don't know long-term what Tennessee's offense is going to look like. But I think Tennessee's offense can be pretty good today. I do. And I like Tennessee's defense. And a lot of that just is a very good team in Syracuse last year that did not help itself out in the transfer portal, got decimated by the transfer portal, and just guys moving on to the NFL. So I think Tennessee, if you follow some of those maxims that we discussed, some of those keys of the game, I think Tennessee cruises to a 31-13 win. That is the over by a wide margin, but also that is hitting the under. I think under is going to be a popular play here in week 1.
Total is what, like 50.5, something
yes.
around there? So, yeah, I'm going to go over as well. I'm going to go Tennessee 38, Syracuse 17. I think Tennessee leans on the run game heavy. I think they are kind of 50-50 in the run pass in terms of total yards at the end of the day. I think Tennessee needs a fast start like we just talked about. Build a first-half lead at halftime, all that stuff. Take care of business, get started early, and go from there. Don't let Syracuse hang around. Don't let those questions linger about this football team. Don't make it a stressful second half if you can avoid it. So set the tone early. 38-17 Tennessee.
Real quick, before we step aside, let's take a look at some of the games around the SEC. We've got we'll just do the Saturday slate, obviously, depending on when people look at this. Referenced it earlier, the big one, number 1 Texas, number 3 Ohio State. That's at noon. You don't have to go super in-depth on this, but who do you like in this one, Texas or Ohio State?
Probably Ohio State, just because it's the home field advantage. Those teams are so talented, and you would pick. I think I would pick either team on their home field. So Ohio State's at home. I'll take Ohio State. 2
new quarterbacks, obviously. Arch has got some experience. Best football player on the in college football world is on Ohio State's roster. Ohio State, I'm intrigued to see kind of what that looks like. I mean, lost their coordinators. Their coordinators played such a big role for that national championship winning season last year. Last year, I agree with you. I think Texas is everybody's picking them to win the national championship, and they still can. But I like Ohio State at home. We've done Tennessee, Syracuse, Mississippi State, Southern Miss. We're gonna take Mississippi State in this one, right?
Yeah, but there's some pause there. Like, why are they going to Southern Miss to begin with? Obviously, Jeff Levy's got a lot of pressure on him to get something going at some point. They can't afford to lose that kind of game in state against a smaller school, going on the road, all that stuff. Like, they better win some football games because it's been tough sledding there. So I'll take Mississippi State there, but with some pause.
Only around a 2-touchdown favorite, which I find pretty interesting. This is one Brent Hubbs has upset alert on, all right? And I just can't see that Zach Calzada will just allow any of this talk, okay? But Kentucky hosting Toledo, Kentucky around a 10-point favorite.
You sure that wasn't Rob putting him on upset alert? It sounds more like a Rob Lewis Kentucky moment.
That does sound like Rob Lewis. That would be pretty fitting for him, but
Brent. If Brent's riding with Toledo, let's ride with the Rockets. I'm fine with that.
I don't know if Brent is picking Toledo. I just said that's one to watch out for. Upset alert.
If he's teasing it, if Brent Hubbs is teasing it, let's go. Let's ride with it.
I think Kentucky's so bad. It's kind of weird, and I know nobody listening and watching this show is going to feel sorry for them, nor should you. But like Mark Stoops, longest tenure coach in the SEC, first of all, wanted to be at A&M, and they said no, and now he's back. That's so awkward. But also, like, he had a solid defense and a solid run game and was good in the trenches. Like, he had a staple of his program and a formula, and that formula and staple really hasn't been evident the last couple of years. I mean, they don't run the football well at all. I mean, they used to churn out great running backs year after year. That's not been the case the last couple of years. They'll still sneak up and pull off an upset every year, but I think Kentucky has just fallen from – it was never elite. It was never – I wouldn't even say it was really, really good, but it was solid there for a minute. It is not solid anymore.
I've got a Toledo fact that I learned over the offseason. You want to hear it? This is the only time. This is why I happened to scroll across this on Instagram via West Bowling, of all people. They have a rocket on their campus, I guess near their football stadium, because they are the Toledo Rockets. And the rocket is faced in the direction or pointing towards Bowling Green's football stadium, in the general direction of Bowling Green's football stadium. So if that rocket were to take off, it would hit Bowling Green's football stadium, which I thought was hilarious.
That is so cool. I don't know why they just don't,
light it up,
shoot off the rocket every touchdown. I mean, that's what you got to do. That's a good nugget. That was pretty good. That's pretty good. Georgia's going to handle Marshall. Alabama, Florida State. You mentioned it earlier. Alabama sitting around almost a 2-touchdown favorite. What do you like about this one?
Oh, man. I left the house. What day was this? Wednesday morning. I don't know why this was the first thought in my head, but I thought, why do I think Alabama is going to win that football? Why is that my initial reaction? Like, why is my instinct? Just the talent's going to be too good for Florida State. And it feels like when you think that about a game, like you don't put any thought into it, you just think Alabama's going to win the football game, that something funny or crazy happens. Maybe that's the case, but I think Alabama's got too much talent. Alabama's got, Kalen DeBoer's got a lot riding on him this year. They're not going to settle for a lot of disappointments that he had in year one. When you're the man that follows the man, you better find a way to win football games. They better find a way to win that one.
Yeah, Alabama's defense last year, it didn't give up many points. Like, it was okay, but man, it was middle of the road in so many different categories. They did not get after the quarterback. They were not great against the run. I mean, they were like middle of the pack SEC, which is just really weird to see for an Alabama defense. If Ty Simpson hits, man, I think Alabama's going to be very dangerous because they're good in the trenches. I think they're going to be better on defense. They've got good skill. If your quarterback is not holding you back, I think that Alabama could be very dangerous this year. Arkansas, Alabama A&M, we know how that's going to go. Oklahoma, Illinois State, we know how that's going to go. Florida, I was talking to somebody down in Gainesville the other day, and they said that Long Island University is probably going to be the worst football team that's ever come to the Swamp. So that should be fun.
I hope they get a good paycheck. I don't know what it is, but I hope it's good.
Yeah, I hope it's worthwhile. UTSA is traveling to Texas A&M. Charleston Southern taking on Vanderbilt. Georgia State, Ole Miss. Let's not dismiss it now. Okay, Georgia State snuck up and beaten a couple SEC teams here in the last couple of years.
Too soon, Eric Cain. Too soon.
Last year was Vanderbilt. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not going back to 2019. It was Vanderbilt last year.
Still too soon.
Ole Miss should handle them. Clemson, LSU. We kind of already spoke about it a little bit. Which way you leaning in that one?
That's another one where it feels pretty similar talent-wise, quarterback-wise. Obviously, you got two really good quarterbacks facing off there. I think it's more of a home field advantage again. Like if it's in Baton Rouge, I'm probably picking LSU, but it's at Clemson, so I'm probably picking Clemson.
I'm going to go with the home team as well. I think this is a straight pick 'em because Clemson's at home. I'll take Clemson. I think LSU is going to be really good this year. Also, LSU can still be really good and drop the opener because that is what LSU does under Brian Kelly. Does less with more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. And then South Carolina, Virginia Tech. South Carolina just a little bit over a touchdown favorite.
Yeah, just not very impressed with Brent Pry. I hope Brent Pry's still there, and I didn't just say that and he's not there. He just hasn't done much. I mean, obviously that's a very historically successful football program over the last couple decades, 20, 30 years, whatever it's been since Beamer was there, and it's just haven't done a ton. So it's also, I guess, Shane Beamer against Virginia Tech is interesting, but it feels like South Carolina. Lenore Sellers, love him, really good quarterback. I think he's going to be really good. Was really good last year. I think he's going to be even better this year, and South Carolina should be a pretty good football team because of it.
Still some disrespect to Brent Pry because you said you've not been impressed with him, but no disrespect that you misnamed the coach over there because he is still there. So Brent Pry is still at Virginia Tech.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I think Lenore Sellers. I think the defensive line, low key Shane Beamer. He's super unlikable in my opinion. The Any Given Saturday doc, really makes you wonder. I think they did a really good. I think he did a really good job in that thing.
Yeah. Family man.
Yeah, but he's done a heck of a job at South Carolina. I mean, you can't dispute that. So I think South Carolina gets this opener. Football season's back. Man, how about it? Tennessee and Syracuse from Atlanta, Georgia, because that is how you draw it up. We'll be down there at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium coming up later this morning. We'll drive down Friday nights, and we'll get going for some orange on orange. Tennessee. What if Friend Brown said orange is orange? Doesn't matter.
Then he said he doesn't want to see any burnt orange. Was he confusing Tennessee with burnt orange? That's the way I took it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Got to get your oranges straight.
When I think burnt orange, I think Texas, but that's just
Texas is burnt orange. Burnt orange is Texas.
Yeah. So anyway, we got orange, a lot of Tennessee fans, and we'll see what's going to happen here in Atlanta, Georgia, Tennessee, and Syracuse. We'll be with you every step of the way right here at Volquest.com on the General's Quarters, pre-game, during the game, post-game, all that and more. Thanks to our friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. We could do this show called GameQuest. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. T and Trial Lawyers. Pick up the phone today and dial 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185 for a free consultation. They are positioned there right in Kingsport, Tennessee, where Grant Ramey's from. And it's Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. T and Trial Lawyers. For Grant Ramey, I'm Eric Cain. Thanks so much for joining us here on the first GameQuest of the season, Volquest.com.